So let me ask you something. Imagine you spend 2.5 years of your life giving everything to a job. You stay late when everyone else goes home. You solve problems nobody asked you to solve. You carry the team on your back during the hardest months. And you do it quietly, without complaining, without asking for recognition. And then one day, someone walks up next to you, picks up everything you built with your own hands, puts their name on it, and smiles at you while doing it. What do? Do you explode? Do you cry? Do you go to HR and hope for the best? I did none of those things. What I did was quieter, more patient, and so much more satisfying. This is my story. And by the end of it, I think you'll understand exactly why I have zero regrets about what happened to Derek. I'm going to call myself Marcus in this story. Not my real name, but it'll do. I started working at a mid-sized marketing agency about 2.5 years before any of this happened. It wasn't a glamorous place. It wasn't one of those cool offices you see in movies with ping pong tables and free snacks. It was a regular office, regular cubicles, regular coffee that tasted like it had been sitting in the pot since 2014. But I loved the work. I genuinely did. Marketing strategy was something I had studied for years and worked hard to get good at. I understood data. I understood consumer behavior. I understood how to look at a struggling campaign and figure out exactly what was broken and how to fix it. Within my first year, I had already turned around 2 accounts that the company was about to lose. One of them was our biggest client at the time. My manager Sandra told me privately that I had basically saved the company from losing close to $400,000 in annual revenue. That felt good. Really good. But here's the thing about being the quiet, hardworking person in an office. People start to take you for granted. They know you'll get it done. They know you won't complain. They know you'll stay until 9 p.m. if that's what it takes. So they stop saying thank you. They stop noticing. And they definitely stop mentioning your name in the rooms where decisions get made. I was okay with that for a while. I told myself the work would speak for itself, eventually. I was building something. I just needed to be patient. Then Derek arrived. Derek joined our team about 8 months after I did. He came in wearing a very expensive watch and a very confident smile and introduced himself to absolutely everyone on his first day, including people in departments that had nothing to do with ours. First impression? Charismatic, likable, the kind of guy who fills up a room just by walking into it. Within his first week, Derek had already had lunch with 3 senior managers. He talked about strategy and vision and disruption and all the buzzwords that sound impressive in meetings but don't actually mean anything when you sit down to do real work. I watched him carefully and noticed something pretty quickly. Derek was an extraordinary talker. But when it came to actually producing results, actual campaigns, actual data, actual strategies that worked, he was ever at best. And I mean that generously. But somehow it didn't matter. Because Derek understood something I hadn't figured out yet. In a lot of offices, perception matters more than reality. If you look confident enough, talk loudly enough, and spend enough time with the right people, you can go very far without actually being the best at anything. Derek spent his Fridays playing golf with the VP of sales. He remembered everyone's birthdays. He brought donuts to Monday morning meetings. He laughed at all the right jokes. Meanwhile, I was in the office until 8 p.m. on Thursdays, rebuilding a client presentation that our team had completely dropped the ball on. Nobody brought me donuts. But I kept my head down. I kept working. And I kept telling myself, results are what matter in the end. The truth always comes out. I had no idea how right I was about that last part. About 6 months before everything fell apart, our company announced that they were creating a new senior position. Senior Marketing Strategist. It was a role that had never existed before in our department. The responsibilities were significant. Overseeing all major client accounts, leading the strategy team, reporting directly to the COO. And the compensation was serious too. We're talking a salary increase of nearly $25,000 a year plus a proper office with an actual door that closes. Sandra pulled me aside the same week the announcement went out. She sat me down, looked at me seriously, and said, "You are the strongest internal candidate for this role. You have the track record. You have the results. I want you to put together a full proposal showing your vision for the department and we'll get you in front of leadership." I went home that night and I couldn't sleep. Not because I was anxious, because I was excited. This was the moment I had been working toward for 2.5 years. Everything I had sacrificed, every late night, every weekend email I answered, it was all leading to this. I started working on my proposal immediately. I spent 3 full weeks on it, and I mean every spare moment. Evenings, weekend mornings, my lunch breaks. I built a complete strategic vision document, new frameworks for client retention, a campaign performance model I had designed myself, a growth roadmap for the next 18 months with projected revenue numbers based on real data from our existing accounts. It was the best work I had ever done. Honestly, one of the best pieces of strategic thinking I have ever produced in my career. I saved everything on the company's shared drive, organized it neatly into folders, dated everything carefully. I was proud of it. And then I made the one mistake that almost cost me everything. About 4 days before my presentation was scheduled with senior leadership, Derek stopped by my desk. He leaned against the partition in that casual way he always did, arms crossed, that familiar easy smile on his face, and said, "Hey, I heard you're putting together something big for the strategist role. Would love to take a look and give you some feedback if that would help." Fresh eyes and all that. I hesitated for about 2 seconds. 2 seconds. That's all the time I had to make the right decision, and I made the wrong one. I said, "Sure, go ahead. It's in the shared drive, under my name. Take a look whenever." He nodded, said, "Thanks, man, appreciate it," and walked back to his desk. I thought nothing more of it. He was a colleague. We weren't close friends, but we were friendly. The idea that he would do what he did next genuinely never crossed my mind. 2 days later, 2 days before my presentation, I arrived at work and noticed something strange. Derek was already in the office before anyone else, which never happened. His door was closed. He had a meeting request sent to the COO, the VP of marketing, and 2 senior directors. His meeting was scheduled for that same afternoon. My stomach dropped, but I still didn't want to believe what I was thinking. So I texted my friend Alicia, who worked in the admin team and had access to the meeting room bookings. Her reply came back in less than 5 minutes. 3 words. "He used yours." I read that message 3 times. Then I put my phone face down on my desk and sat very, very still for about 60 seconds. Then I got to work. Here is something that most people who work in offices don't think about until they need it. Every shared company drive keeps a log, a complete, detailed, time-stamped log, every file that's opened, of every single action that happens inside it, every file that gets downloaded, every edit that gets made, who did it and exactly when. It's all there, quietly recording everything in the background. Most people forget it exists. I hadn't forgotten, because 6 months earlier I had spent 3 days helping our IT manager James sort out a major system access problem that had nearly caused a data breach. We had worked side by side through a very stressful situation and come out the other side as something close to friends. James owed me. And he knew it. I walked to his desk that morning, sat down, and quietly explained what I needed. He looked at me for a moment, then turned to his computer without saying a word and pulled up the access logs for my shared folder. What came up on that screen was everything I needed. Derek had opened my proposal folder 14 times over the previous 2 days. 14. He had spent time inside every single document. He had downloaded the full proposal as a PDF at 11:47 p.m. 2 nights ago. He had then opened a new document on his own drive at 12:03 a.m. and spent the next 3 hours editing it. James printed the logs without me even asking. I took those papers. I went back to my desk. I pulled up my original document and confirmed its creation timestamp. 3 weeks ago, authored by me, with every edit and addition tracked under my name. Then I opened Derek's calendar invitation and looked at his presentation title. He had called it A Strategic Vision for the Department by Derek. He had changed approximately 4 sentences, the font, and the cover page. Everything else was mine. I clipped the printed logs together with my original document timestamps. Then I picked up my things and walked, calmly, quietly, without telling a single person what I was about to do, directly to the office of the head of HR. I asked the HR director if I could have 20 minutes with her and the COO together. Just 20 minutes. She could see from my face that something serious was happening. She made one call. 15 minutes later, I was sitting across from both of them. I didn't perform. I didn't cry. I didn't raise my voice or use dramatic language. I placed my original document on the table. I placed the access logs next to it. I placed the timestamps side by side. And I said one sentence, "I just want to make sure the right person gets credit for this work." Then I sat back and let them read. The COO is not a man who shows a lot of emotion. In the 2.5 years I had worked there, I had never seen him look rattled. But as he moved his eyes between my creation timestamps and Derek's download history and the side-by-side comparison of the 2 documents, something shifted in his expression. He looked up at me, then down at the papers. Then he picked up his phone and called Sandra. He asked her one question. He said, "Who wrote the strategic proposal for the senior strategist role?" I heard her answer clearly from across the desk. She said, "Marcus did. He's been working on it for 3 weeks." The COO thanked her and ended the call. Then he looked at the HR director. Then at me, he said, "Thank you for bringing this to us directly. Give us the rest of the day." I walked out of that office, went back to my desk, put my headphones on, and worked for the rest of the afternoon like nothing had happened. The meeting with Derek happened that same afternoon. I watched him walk into the COO's office at 3:15 p.m. with that confident stride and that easy smile. He came out 2 hours later with neither. I didn't stare. I didn't smirk. I just glanced up once as he passed my desk and then looked back at my screen. The next morning, his desk was empty. Laptop gone. Coffee mug gone. That little motivational calendar he kept next to his monitor, gone. Even the small succulent plant he had on the corner of his desk. All of it gone. 3 days after that, Sandra sat me down and officially offered me the senior strategist position. I asked what happened to Derek. She paused for a moment and then said, "After reviewing the situation, we found that this wasn't the first time something like this had occurred. Apparently, Derek had taken credit for other people's work on 2 previous occasions. Neither person had reported it. Neither had evidence. I had both, and that was the difference." I've thought about this story a lot since it happened, and the thing that stays with me isn't the satisfaction of the outcome, although I won't pretend that wasn't real. What stays with me is this. Derek almost got away with it. He came so close. If I hadn't known about those access logs, if I hadn't had a relationship with the IT manager, if I had gone home that night and cried instead of getting strategic, he would have walked into that office, delivered my work with his name on it, and probably gotten the job. And I would have never known exactly why I lost. So the lesson I want to leave you with is simple: document everything. Date everything. Build relationships with people at every level of your workplace, not just the ones above you. Know your systems, know your rights, and when someone tries to take what is yours, don't explode, don't beg, don't make it emotional, just let the evidence speak. Because evidence doesn't have feelings. Evidence doesn't get nervous. Evidence just tells the truth. And the truth, when you present it calmly in the right room to the right people, is the most powerful thing in the world. Derek thought charm was enough. He thought confidence could replace substance. He thought I was too quiet to fight back. He was wrong about all 3. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever had someone take credit for your work, or watched someone less qualified move ahead of you because they played the politics better, drop a comment below. Tell me your story. I genuinely read every single one. And if you want more stories like this every week, real stories, real lessons, real outcomes, you already know what to do, Scoosper. I'll see you in the next one.